I was just watching the Pete stuff. He was very mean.
All this drama, all these months, and this beef all started over a clogged toilet.
Let's see if he actually left the. Oh yeah. Oh wow.
God.
Show him?
Yes. Oh my God.
What was supposed to be the AMP or sidemen of the Fortnite community turned into a nightmare for everyone involved. Loads of betrayal, negotiating behind others' backs, and straight Bucke style snaking, but IRL instead on Fortnite. Within a span of a few months, Agent went from becoming the next FaZe clan to falling completely apart. All the progress Rad made was just gone. And if it couldn't get worse, EXD's house that they bought out from Agent became a war zone, filled with arguments starting between everyone involved. Friendships were completely shattered over money.
Every single time he would go out the room, he would say, "You pie, you're broke, I'll buy you."
Egos clashed.
Just the global's ego. He's Jesus, you know?
And people were even stealing each other's girlfriends.
I literally feel like my brother just like my ex, bro.
You could really say the house had a whole lot of loot but no shields in their relationships. Nobody has really looked into what happened to the Esports World Cup champions, but the amount of drama that took place behind the scenes was huge. Beef with Peterbot, Rad, Bucke, and practically everyone involved. Now to fully understand what happened to EXD Peterbot, we need to go back to the start of it all. Early 2024, a new org came onto the Fortnite scene called Agent, run by Rad. Typically, Fortnite orgs that come out of nowhere, sign a few players, and just vanish naturally by realizing they actually don't know how to run an org. Some realize that these Fortnite pros' egos are bigger than most NFL or NBA players too. And honestly, this is pretty true to an extent. These kids grow up with millions of impressions weekly and entire fandoms worshiping them. For example, Peterbot has his own fan page from this guy on X named Stack. So when you're 17 and already more famous than over 99% of your peers, it's honestly not hard to move around like you're LeBron. But see, Rad wanted to build the best team in Fortnite, and from the ground up, which is a pretty hard task at hand. He quickly got on the wave and signed players like Cold, one of the best in NA. Peterbot, who was just fresh off some FNCS wins.
What is this? Take off the Peterbot!
And Bucke. He also signed Scented, a Fortnite OG, and even Ocus, one of the best controller players on the scene. And by February of 2024, Agent was stacked. Rad even moved them all into a zero ping mansion where Scented and Rad were vlogging religiously. Bucke was streaming and enjoyed his life in his own ways while stacking bread on top of bread. And Peterbot was doing Peterbot things. What else is new? There's not much to say there.
I don't know, we good. I smell like shit right now. I look like shit. I haven't showered today all my life.
You just made 100K.
I don't give a shit, bro. I'm gonna win by 250 points. I won by like 440, bro.
Rad was hoping to foster a family-like environment and wanted to continue to pump viral content out every single chance he got. And to be fair, he actually kinda did that. For a moment, not only did it look like a paradise for content, but everyone was playing the best comp-wise as well, especially Peterbot. But how something seems to look from the outside is not always how it looks internally. See, everyone knows that running an org is not cheap whatsoever, and there were statements from some people in the house that Rad's finances were pretty shaky from day one, even though they were sponsored by an NFL player, Dexter Lawrence. And according to some players, his finances were so bad, he didn't even pay them what he owed them in his contracts.
He was in debt. Way too much money. That's all I should be focused on, right? I shouldn't have to be worried about paying for a fucking house. I shouldn't have to be worried about being on the lease of a house. I shouldn't be worried about taking care of a house. I shouldn't have to be worried about taking care of an organization. I shouldn't have to be worried about putting money up for a house, putting money up for an organization. That's not the type of stuff that I should be worried about, bro.
The guys in that house just covered some of the costs and the house cost in the hopes he'd figure it out with this content stuff. So in simple terms for you Fortnite kids, players were not getting paid at all. Rad was footing bills with money he just didn't have, and he was rapidly burning through his savings. So now the pressure was on. Sponsors weren't materializing, content wasn't bringing enough cash flow, and the team's trust in Rad was diminishing by the minute. So by mid-2024, all of the issues exploded at the exact same time.
$37,000 each for attending the ESL tourney. Rad ruined our chance of getting $37,000 each just because he wanted to screw us over.
It was made known Agent was on the brink of extinction. So sensing this instability, a new South African org that has, funny enough, also shut down now, stepped in and bought out Agent completely. Exceed offered Agent's players a way out, better support, the same mansion with it all covered, and real salaries. So after being faced with broken promise after broken promise from Rad, the players got a lifeline from Exceed that they all took instantly. On July 26th, 5 of Agent's top players, Bucke, Peterbot, Scented, Ocus, and Quanti, jumped ship all the way over to Exceed. The craziest part of all this was that they kicked Rad out of the house, effectively ending Rad's entire dream overnight. For Rad, this was the ultimate betrayal. The guys he lived with, grinded with, and envisioned his future with basically just said, screw you, you are kicked out of the house. And we're kicking Agent in the dirt with you. Rad later said he poured everything into the team, only to see them do this to him. And later, he also admitted he understands why they left, but it hurts, and he wished things went differently. But from the players' perspective, they believe Rad had betrayed them first by failing to pay them a dime and holding up his end of the deal. They stuck with it for a few months, hoping he'd come through. Instead, they watched their bills pile up with no way out. Not even a launch pad could get him out of this one, realistically. They knew Agent was a sinking ship after months of instability, so who wouldn't try to jump ship to try to find a more stable future for themselves? The collapse of Agent turned into open warfare online. Rad was scrambling to save his face and brand by putting out a YouTube video titled Let's Talk, featuring himself, Bucke, and Scented sitting down together. On camera, they kept things pretty civil and tried to explain everything to the fans. Rad apologized for the mistakes he made and took blame for being over his head. Bucke and Scented, who were officially Exceed players, chose their words carefully. It was like divorced parents breaking the news to their kids, maintaining a tense but polite vibe throughout the video. But when the cameras stopped rolling, honesty really came out.
Whatever streams I did in Mexico, bro, I don't remember. I don't know what the f I said. I don't know, was it bad? What did I say, bro?
On his Twitch stream, Bucke didn't hold back at all. Rad owed them tens of thousands of dollars to them. And not to mention how they were being played on string like puppets by Rad. In one of Bucke's most heated streams, Bucke went even as far to say that Rad was acting like the victim now, but he literally scammed them all. Bucke and Scented covered for him and still made minimal effort to fix anything.
So yeah, Scented was already on the org and, you know, kind of re-signed him. He didn't really re-sign, but he was gonna stay. But yeah.
In the house. He didn't want Ocus in the house. Wait, what is he saying? He was gonna re-sign. No Scented was gonna re-sign. He tried to cut him. And I was the one who said Scented is a great addition to the house. He tried to cut him.
And later, in a Bucke and Scented stream, they mentioned that the What Actually Happened to Agent video was a public sob story that Rad put out in hopes to save his reputation. He tried to portray himself as a guy who was trying to build something great, but got in over his head. In his eyes, the players betrayed him. In the players' eyes, Rad was scamming them all. But who knows who was really right? But as stuff unraveled, it looks like Rad may have actually just been playing victim. He lost the very mansion that was the Agent house, and Agent was left as an org with nobody essentially, unless you count Rad. So as anyone would do, Rad uploaded another video titled Agent Isn't Over, or is it? He tried sparking a comeback, and truthfully, the aura, as some would say, was gone. Agent's name was now tarnished with a legacy of drama, scamming, and failure. But enough Rad, let's talk about the beef that was happening in the house after everyone left for Exceed. Initially, it seemed like everyone had won. New org, stable pay, and the keys to a multi-million-dollar mansion in Texas. What was supposed to be a fresh start with no scamming or money problems turned into a nightmare pretty fast. Well, what could go wrong, right? Well, plenty as it turns out. The house dynamics soured fast. Peterbot, the recently turned 18-year-old prodigy, was not exactly an ideal roommate. Soon after moving in, complaints started flying out from everyone about Peter's hygiene and habits. Bucke and others claimed Peter just refused to do basic chores, left trash and food everywhere, and even messed with the thermostat settings, constantly making it hot in everyone's room.
He was so controlling on the AC. We had to fucking try to work with him on that. So weird about the whole AC thing. Every single time he would go out the room, he would say, "F you, pie, you're broke, I'll buy you." The shit that he would say to Ocus was insane.
My hands are freezing. I turn the AC off, and then someone just turns it right back on, bro. It's just like Bucke and Pilot are just so old, so they sweat 50 times more than I do.
And they live in Texas, so it's not exactly cold there. It's one of the most humid places in the US. Tensions that had been directed at Rad now shifted towards how Exceed's dream house was now turning into a frat house, plus Peter. One day on stream, Bucke let loose about Peterbot's behavior.
And talking out with him, it's not that serious. That was the whole problem, is I could not talk to him. He ghosted me, every single roommate. He muted our group chat. He wasn't talking to anyone. No one could talk to him.
That's when he dropped the now infamous line about the clogged toilet. He said, "I'm not his dad. I shouldn't have to clean up after Peter." He painted a picture of Peter as an entitled kid with zero life skills who thought being a Fortnite pro excused him from basic adulthood. Pretty harsh words to say to a kid that was living by himself for the first time at just 17. The EXD house was nasty, and he blamed Peter for this. They even leaked pictures of his bedroom online. But nobody brings up Peter's side. He was in a house where all everyone did was drink, smoke, and party. The house slowly started to stop feeling like a pro Fortnite house or content house, and more like a weekend frat pre-game spot. The late night parties were practically routine now. Music blasted through walls, and random people, sometimes other pros in the scene, would show up unannounced to party. There were even rumors of fights breaking out over small things like stolen food. Some of the players even stopped scrimming and practicing because they were so busy recovering from hangovers or just not home at all from time to time.
Dude, he felt like a little brother for a little bit until I had Huz over and he put the AC on 900 degrees.
People would be stumbling out of bed at 4 a.m., loud noise all night sometimes, and the list goes on and on. Peter wasn't just dealing with dirty looks, but living in chaos essentially. And while it was never confirmed on camera, multiple pros hinted that some of the players used the house as a way to host free parties and social gatherings, involving things we would rather not say. To be fair, you need to see both sides of it. Everyone was doing something wrong, but nobody wanted to admit what they were doing was actually wrong. Anyways, Peter, after hearing Bucke airing out his dirty laundry, literally to thousands online, was pissed. He jumped on the stream and gave his side of the story. He mentioned things like how they turned on him unfairly. They claimed he was being ganged up on and how they were exaggerating everything to make him look bad. And although he admitted he wasn't the neatest person, he felt airing him out like that online didn't really fit for what was actually happening. The drama hit a real boiling point later on when Peter was asked to leave the Exceed house. He had gotten kicked out just months after they all moved in together. The crazy part is the amount of videos and vlogs everyone put out in the house whenever he won FNCS and tournaments, essentially gaining views and money off of his name. They had him in vlog after vlog and included him in activities, and who all knows the real reason why. But one can infer that they knew including him inside of videos meant gaining more views, treating him like a child instead of a teammate. Yes, he admitted he wasn't the neatest person, but he felt the punishment didn't fit the crime. And instead of talking it over and squashing the beef, the drama hit a boiling point when everyone in the Exceed house asked Peter to leave. And it wasn't so much like, bro, can you find a new crib? It was more of a, bro, find a new crib, you're kicked out. So just months after they had all moved in together, they already kicked out one member. First it was Rad for obvious reasons, now it was Peter for apparently not being a good roommate. How does a Fortnite champion end up getting evicted from his own org's team house? The answer will depend on who you ask. Bucke and the rest of the guys will say Peter brought it on himself with his behavior. Peter would say his teammates betrayed him and drove him out over minor issues. And it's worth noting, the final decision wasn't purely internal. Apparently Peter's own parents had gotten involved as well. So yeah, that's right. Peter's mom apparently complained about the house's environment, as well as when she came in person to drive Peter home. So it's wild to look at how Bucke's version of the story made Peter out to be a bad roommate and dirty. While Peter's mom felt her son was being mistreated, and Bucke didn't have any regrets saying anything on stream. He was just laughing.
Bro, like, they're just being weird to my parents every single stream. They're just talking about my parents. Like, what?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Like, who talks about other people's parents? Like, what? That's just weird. First of all,
Actually,
how does the shit get in my toilet after I leave?
They were friendly when they teamed up to leave Agent, but now Bucke was just quick to throw Peter under the bus just like he did with Rad. Now take that as you interpret it, but there's definitely a common denominator in both issues here if you ask me. The Peterbot and Bucke beef was spilling on the X, Reddit, and overall everywhere. To back Bucke up though, there were some pros that claimed they saw this coming given Peter's young age. But others criticized Bucke for not mentoring the 17-year-old kid, rather than just making the beef public. So Bucke and Peter went from kicking Rad out and getting a new org to sponsor their house, to now beefing because they hated each other at the house now. But Peter's living just fine now. He's actually living with Pollo. Ironically, they're both fighting it out off spawn right now and living in the same house. But it's good for them for not making it personal IRL and keeping the video game beef inside the video game. That's not something easy to do, so I need to give flowers to Peter where it's due. Now, if you think the Peter and Bucke drama was sane for this one house, Here's another insane thing you would never think of. I'll let you guess by giving you 3 hints. It involved Bucke and his girlfriend and Pilot. It involved some cheating, and I'm not talking about cheating using ChatGPT to write your essay. Okay, that should have made it pretty easy to guess, but Bucke's old girlfriend essentially cheated on Bucke for Pilot. And the craziest part of this all was that Bucke and Pilot are literally brothers. And as a brother, you trust your brother and not expect him to go behind your back and do something weird. Well, it turns out Pilot was getting overly friendly with Bucke's girlfriend at the time, and this was the same girl that Bucke had dated previously, and their breakup was fresh. And by all accounts, Bucke was still hurt over this. And now his roommate, one of his boys, and most importantly his brother, was hooking up with her. When Bucke found out, he quite literally exploded. On stream, Bucke was just pacing back and forth in his room like a caged tiger, with his hands on his hair just losing it. He even said the most heartbreak thing I might have ever heard. I put a roof over your head and you snake me like this. In that moment, Bucke was no longer a 19-year-old Fortnite streamer, but a frustrated 19-year-old kid that felt like he'd been stabbed in his heart by his brother and friend. In a video put online, Bucke fans saw a side of him not many fans have ever seen. Tears of rage and heartbreak with anger flowing out of him like never before. He cursed Pilot on stream and even said, quote unquote, "You're actually dead to me, Pilot. Don't ever speak to me again." Nice. Not what you want to hear from your own brother after messing up. For a third time in recent memory, Bucke had lost someone close to him again. And by this time, it felt like the ultimate personal betrayal. The ripple effects were immediate within the Exceed house. Trust was lost between almost everyone that remained. If there were any thoughts of letting Peter come back to the house, it was gone by now. The atmosphere was toxic, so Pilot packed his things and left in disgrace. Some say he was kicked out by Exceed's management, while others says he left to avoid further conflict. Bucke took a short hiatus from streaming after this incident as well. The emotional toll on him was heavy. So now Peterbot is doing Peterbot things, just grinding and winning FNCSs. And he's even matured, recently saying this about clicks.
Bro, he deserves to win an FNCS at some point. It doesn't matter. Like, everyone deserves their moment. Took Kanata 30 FNCS to win one, bro.
Yo.
Bro, that's
Why did we just,
bro. No,
why did we
bro,
just catch
everyone
a
has
shit?
their moment, bro.
Nah,
like,
you're right.
It only
Like
took
Bucke.
us 8 years
Bucke
and
had his.
Yamzo and Grimp to fucking win an
I
FNCS.
had more than a moment, brother.
Yeah.
Don't even
Place
say
is
that,
looking
facts.
fucking primed, bro. Like, that's all there is to it. He's primed. Their whole trio's primed. All of us are conned. Like, bro, like, that's just how Fortnite is. That's why random people win FNCS sometimes, because people are conned. People are primed. Like, that's how the game works, bro.
Bucke is back playing Fortnite as usual, playing with Okus and other upcoming pros. He's still a fan favorite streamer and doing well from his end on Twitch. Rad tried streaming again and rebuilt Agent as an IRL or trying to become a sideman or phase in terms of IRL content. He doesn't really do gaming stuff anymore, but he seems to be doing well, so good for him. Scented has now put himself into the crypto and Web3 space, a move that isn't too surprising as Fortnite pros that have retired often follow the same path. Instead of grinding Fortnite leaderboards, he's grinding the crypto market leaderboards instead, and Pilot is doing Pilot things. He's streaming and making content again. And Exceed, most importantly, is gone. Nobody is in the org, and after winning FNCS Globals, they just started to slowly disappear. Nobody really knows where the owner went, but the owner is known to go MIA from time to time. Some would say all that drama for nothing. Anyways, I won't bore you guys with filler content to make the video longer. YouTube thinks you'll like the video on screen right now, so watch that if you're bored. Sub, like, banger next Friday. Bye!